Hello everyone. Razorblade Mango here. And today I would like to discuss a PlayStation related topic with you all that was inspired by an opinion article that I read a while back that actually intrigued me, and it presented a point that has been kind of bubbling in my brain, but something I never really put at the forefront of my mind until recently because of this article. And I'm not going to read the full article because I want you guys to check it out. I'll of course include a link to it in the description box of this video, but it comes from author Sammy Barker over at Push Square, which is a website that I actually quite like and frequent. And it is called Talking Point: Sony's investing in anime, but why isn't PlayStation leading the charge? So I'm going to read parts of this article for you all and then add my own commentary to certain things that Sammy does not bring up. So he starts with, Sony saw the anime boom before many of its rivals, and to its credit, it's been investing accordingly. Back in 2021, it acquired streaming service Crunchyroll for $1.1 billion, and it's since invested in multimedia conglomerates like Kadokawa and Bandai Namco. This is all part of a company-wide drive, and it looks for synergies between its divisions and slowly reinvents itself as an entertainment organization, and PlayStation is part of the initiative. And he goes on to mention how Herman Hulst has said that anime is essential to appealing to younger audiences. They also talk about the fact that Sony only very recently greenlighted an anime adaptation of Ghost of Tsushima, which is based on its multiplayer mode Legends, which is going to be coming out in the next few years. They're also talking about how that whenever an anime adaptation of something comes out, it tends to have a rising tide raises all boats kind of approach to its back catalog of games, such as the recently released anime of Devil May Cry on Netflix, which sucks, unfortunately, but it did show a big increase in sales for DMC5 and some of the other Capcom titles in that series. But this is something that I have been thinking of in the fact that Sony, not just PlayStation, Sony itself seems very hell-bent on investing more in anime, and rightfully so, because anime is an enormous moneymaker, and that's something that this article also goes over. So, something that I've really wondered is, why haven't we been getting more anime-based games from PlayStation? And I'm not specifically just talking about the gacha-style games like Honkai Star Rail, the MiHoYo stuff, and some of the other things that have come out, some of the upcoming things as well. But it has always puzzled me that PlayStation is owned by the same parent company that owns a lot of, almost has a monopoly on the anime market. And yet, PlayStation has repeatedly failed to take opportunities to make their own anime-based games, whether they are based on a franchise that they own, or whether they create their own anime-inspired stuff. I think the closest thing PlayStation really has is Ghost of Tsushima, and lo and behold, Ghost of Tsushima was a massive success for PlayStation. And I think a big part of that has to do with the fact that it is a very anime-inspired property, where you have Japan, you have very sort of semi-realistic, semi-cartoonish combat in there. It's very sleek, it's very stylish, it's very colorful, bright, beautiful color palette that it has. And I think it also just appeals to overseas desires at the time, especially before the glut of samurai and ninja-based games started pouring back in, to see more games and properties based on this setting and this style. And PlayStation, more specifically Sucker Punch, took an opportunity to do it, and it did wonders for them. And PlayStation got to see early signs that the data was there for this market, such as when Genshin Impact came out in 2020, made an astronomical amount of money, And PlayStation got to see a lot of it because for a number of years, PlayStation was the only console that you could play Genshin Impact on before it eventually came to Xbox many, many years later. I think it even got the timed exclusivity rights to Honkai Star Rail. I believe it still has the timed exclusivity rights to Zenless Zone Zero, which is the other MiHoYo game. And whenever game MiHoYo comes out with next, I am certain it's going to be an exclusive on PlayStation for a number of months because PlayStation obviously sees the monetary value in these games. So that should have been a sign back then that, hey, maybe we should invest more into anime-based games. Not even necessarily gacha games, but things that are anime-inspired. More things like it. I'm not saying they need to make every game that they make like this, but lean a little bit more into it. The data is there that it works, both from a cultural and a monetary standpoint. And I have a feeling that if they were to make more anime-based JRPGs, for instance, that I think it would go over very well these days, especially if you appeal to that subset of an audience. And the article goes on, but despite all of the obvious synergies outlined above, PlayStation's approach to this kind of content has been complicated. While it signed console exclusivity deals on new entries in genre stalwarts like FF16 and FF7 Rebirth, Square Enix has since stated its ambition to explore a multi-format strategy moving forwards, in line with its own business goals. And yet, most of the Japanese giant's own exploration of the sector has come through Aniplex of late, which despite being part of the same corporate family, sits confusingly under its Sony Music Entertainment umbrella, completely separate from PlayStation. Aniplex's biggest success stories include the mobile gacha game Fate/Grand Order, which was generating an estimated $2.5 million per day at its peak in 2018. It also helped produce the wildly successful anime adaptation of the Demon Slayer manga, which broke multiple records in Japan, with the recent Infinity Castle registering the biggest opening day in Japanese box office history. Yet earlier this year, Aniplex published the critically acclaimed The 100 Line Last Defense Academy from Tokyo on Nintendo Switch and PC only. With no plans for a PS5 port in sight, this highlights the incongruity in Sony's strategy and the flabbergasting lack of cooperation between its subsidiaries. It's made more frustrating when you consider PlayStation's search for a live service success story appears to be singularly obsessed with shooters. The firm's already released and promptly shuttered the multi-million-dollar FPS blunder Concord, and other upcoming projects include the heist game Fair Games. Yet some of the most popular live service games on PS5 include Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, gacha RPGs with devoted anime-aligned fan bases that generate billions in revenue. The viral Western release of Uma Musume Pretty Derby, I have no idea what that is by the way, proves that there's still space in this sector to exploit, yet PlayStation is nowhere to be seen. And this is something that I brought up to Sammy in the comment section of this article, because I have said this before on the channel, but it is my belief, and I have seen very little evidence that contradicts this over the years during their tenure, and more specifically during one of their tenures, that Jim Ryan and Herman Hulst have no taste. Herman Hulst, Jim Ryan, and their ilk have no creative foresight. Because outside of Marvel Tokon, which I'll get to, is going to be mentioned in this article later, it speaks to how lacking PlayStation is in their creative thinking, modern PlayStation specifically, that they are very lacking in their creative thinking, that they wouldn't take advantage of Sony's anime monopoly that they have at their fingertips. And like I said earlier, even back 5 years ago, when something like Genshin Impact first exploded onto the scene, PlayStation would have had the data that shows them, hey, this is something we are uniquely positioned to get into bed with. There is a lot of potential here. And not only that, they had plenty of time to do this. They had plenty of time to plant the seeds of their own anime-inspired stuff and bring it to fruition and bring it to market. But they didn't. Instead, like the article mentions, they pursued things like Concord that failed. They pursued things like Fair Games that will probably fail. They pursued things like Bungie and Marathon, and that's not going very well either. And they also now have a graveyard of games that they have killed in pursuit of this live service initiative. When, from the very beginning, they could have had less games in the pipeline, but more things that would have leaned into their strengths, like anime. And to me, it is absolutely insane that they did not take advantage of this. And as I've said many times on this channel before, you don't need an MBA from Harvard to understand why this was a no-brainer opportunity. Why Jim Ryan or Herman Hulse did not look at the data-driven information that they have and plan for this. They had the data-driven foresight to take advantage of this opportunity for their much publicized live service initiative, but they didn't do it. And that is insane to me. And this speaks to how much of a lack of eye for creativity, foresight, cultural relevancy, and talent that Herman Hulse has as a leader. If things like Concord and Marathon and Fair Games are what drives Herman Hulse's taste in video games, both in and out of this live service market that PlayStation clearly wants to continue pursuing, stupidly, I might add, then he should not be the leader of this. He does not have taste. He does not have the eye that this anime shit was worth going after, was worth cultivating. It's only now that we see something like Marvel Tokan, which, again, I very highly doubt was a Herman Hulse idea. I'm pretty sure that was somebody that was more a producer in Japan who came up with this idea. I'm willing to bet money that that's the case, that the seed of that idea came from XDev in Japan. And that greatly worries me because Herman Hulse is the head guy of PlayStation Studios now. And he has no taste. And I have seen very little evidence that contradicts that. So the article continues, the announcement of Marvel Tokan Fighting Souls does prove that it is willing to invest in live service games outside of shooters, as this title will likely have a long lifespan, supported by the steady release of new characters and stages. But as a single isolated example, it's probably not enough. It's clear from all of the above that there's an insatiable market of anime enthusiasts for PlayStation to target, all of which aligns with the organization's wider goals. And yet, outside of Arc System Works' aforementioned brawler, it's showing no signs of servicing it. PlayStation's back catalog is rife with franchises ripe for re-exploration, from classic JRPGs like Wild Arms through to more contemporary efforts like Gravity Rush. Yet all of these efforts likely died with the closure of Japan Studio in 2021. There's no doubt the organization's identification of anime as a growth vector is the right one, but given the evident crossover between anime enthusiasts and gamers, we think PlayStation's contribution to this strategy could and should be greater. This is an article that I completely agree with, and again, it adds evidence to my own case that I've been building for a number of years now, that PlayStation's top brass right now have no taste. They are not tastemakers. With the exception of a few people that are thankfully still in the company, they don't have the eye for foresight. They don't have the eye to take advantage of opportunities. Like I said, when I talked about Marvel Tokon, the couple times I've talked about it, Marvel Tokon was a brilliant idea. Marvel Tokon is something that is uniquely positioned for PlayStation. PlayStation possesses the expertise, both in the creative and business fields, to make a game like that happen and make it good. Give it the budget it needs, court the talent that it needs for it, get the business sign off that it needs for it. It was a brilliant idea, and it's a live service. It's a live service that I, Mr. Razorblade, fuck live services, Mango, am completely 110% on board with and very much looking forward to. And that says a lot. So yeah, I absolutely think PlayStation needs to invest more in anime style first party games. Absolutely. And if PlayStation, the top brass over there, don't see that, then that is a big problem. So anyway, that's all I wanted to say for today. Go check out the article. It's really, really good. I highly recommend it. I'll include it in the description box below. And thank you to everybody who watched. Hope you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I will catch you all later. See ya!